share with you all my testimony. As you watch this video, today marks the second year. Let me turn on the light here. The second year anniversary of God's promise of giving me a house. Yes, I am in my house, the house that God gave to me, the house that I watch grow. So today is all about my testimony. And for some of you, you may not know what is a testimony. But a testimony, according to Cornell Dictionary, is a statement about something that has happened that is true, given by witness. And so that's the Scholar Dictionary, but Jermaine Latt's Theological Dictionary defines testimony as a test of faith in acquisition of God's promise. So let me take you back to 2 years ago. 2 years ago, this was January 2016. I was feeling the need within me to finally be in the home after being in Atlanta for 12 or so years. At that particular time, it was about 10 years, the 10-year anniversary. So after being in Atlanta for about 10 years, I said to myself that, hey, I'm tired of living in an apartment. I'm tired from going from 1 year to the next year, to the next year, to the next year, to the next year. Every year I was in a different apartment. And it seemed like every time that I moved, right, I was looking for something better. But every place that I moved, I didn't find better. Yeah, I did find better, maybe perhaps better amenities, maybe perhaps better things, that better space, or the better look of things, better feel, newness of the apartments, etc. So for all those kind of things, amenities, I found those things, but what I did not find was peace. I wasn't at peace and I wasn't at home. I didn't feel as though any of those apartments, year to year, gave me that sense of home. And so, at the end of my lease in Buckhead, part of Atlanta, I was living, and I decided, you know what, I want to, maybe I need to leave the city, and maybe I need to find something cheaper. I want to get a home. I'm tired of being in an apartment. An apartment is not a home. It wasn't home for me, and every time I had problems with my neighbors, or problems with doors slamming, or just problems with the type of people that were in these particular communities, or the leasing, or the pricing, or the amenities. It was always something, and no place was ever peaceful. No place was ever perfect. So I decided to look outward. I went 20 miles out to the city of Alpharetta. And in Alpharetta, I was looking. I had an appointment to look at an apartment. I liked the area, had heard of the area, very suburban area, bit affluent area, upper middle class area, very nice area, very well kept. And so before the appointment to view the apartment, me and my friend decided to go to the store. We got there because we were early and the place unfortunately wasn't open. So we had decided to go to the store. So me and my friend, we went to the store, and we went to Publix. And I wanted to let you know, to put this in proper context, I don't know anybody in Alpharetta. I don't know no one. I don't go to church there or anything of that nature. But this was after church on a Sunday in January 2016. And so my appointment was around, I want to say 2 o'clock, and I got there actually 1 o'clock, and we got there around 12:30. So they weren't open. We went to Publix, which is a grocery store, and while I was doing some shopping in Publix, I went down the shaving aisle, the beauty aisle, health, etc., so forth. And because I needed some shaving cream to shave my, as you see, bald head. So as I reached to grab the shaving bottle, a gentleman approaches me and he says to me, "I have a word from you, from God." So I was kind of shocked. I was like, okay, and so I just continued to listen. And he said that God is very pleased with your worship. That God loves you. And that as a result of your worship, He's going to bless you with a house. He's going to bless you with your family, with your own family, and He's going to bless you with your ministry. Wow. This guy was a Caucasian guy, probably, I want to say, maybe about 5'9", so fairly short. Had like long hair, was kind of tied up in a scrunchie or whatever, but it was just tied up in the back, and he had on a leather jacket, so he gave me that feel of kind of like a biker, but he was very polite, very nice, but I was shocked he wasn't dressed in church attire or anything. Matter of fact, I was the only one, and my friend, we had just came from church, so we were the only ones that were really dressed up. And it wasn't necessarily all dressed up like I was in the suit or tie, but I did have on some slacks, business casual, button-up shirt. And I was looking sharp, as I always do. But mind you to say that, so I shook this man's hand. We shook hands, and then he left. And so it had me thinking, I was in a state of shock. I was shocked, and I was in that aisle, and I was thinking, wow, who was that? Let me go back and find him and introduce myself and talk to him a little bit more, find out who he is. So I would say I probably was I was standing in that aisle in shock for about 40 seconds. Meantime, my friend was in another aisle shopping and doing something else, so he wasn't even there to witness this. So I go looking for this guy, right? And I can't find him anywhere. And mind you, this was probably just like after 30 or 40 seconds, I can't find this guy. And so I go to the back of the store. I look through every single aisle as I'm walking through. I look up at the front of the grocery store. This man is nowhere to be found. And with him, he didn't have any groceries or anything. So this was a divine messenger. And I think that he was an angelic being. I couldn't find this man. He had a message for me at a time and a point that I needed to hear it. And from there, that's when everything begun, right? I did end up moving into Alpharetta, into an apartment. It wasn't the apartment that I had an appointment at, but a cheaper apartment. And then I started looking and searching and getting interested about buying a home, the process of buying a home. And so I would visit the various communities, new development communities. I knew I wanted a new home, so I started to look at these new development and communities all across Atlanta. And on my birthday, May 4th, I was approved for a home mortgage loan, and I was under contract for a new house. Now, wow, this is 2016, right? So at that time, I would have been about 33. It was amazing that I was signing a contract to begin development on a brand new home in May of 2016. Now, mind you, I want to tell you something. To be honest, my credit was not in the best condition. The loan officer that I was assigned to, right, her name was Joy. And she had an amazing faith. So, going through qualification, she looked at my credit score, looked at my debts, looked at my income, and she said, I know you've qualified for this amount, but you could qualify for even more if you raise your credit score about 20 points. She gave me precise detail in steps. It was a 12 step, I promise you. It was 12 steps. 12 steps how to raise my credit score. I did everything that she asked me to do, and I was approved for more loan than initially I was offered. And I got a better interest rate. Moving right along, so I was on a contract. I was given the amount of down payment that was needed in order for me to secure the loan, which was 3.5%, which equated to, I believe, closely to around $8,000 or so dollars, in order to secure the loan. I had until May. I had from May to December to acquire all of those funds in order to close on the house. Month by month, God was allowing me to save, and to pay off debts, and to eventually graduate to the sum of the down payment. Now, mind you, during that process of several months from May to December, that I was eating a lot of beans and rice, and I was scratching and saving every single dime that I could possibly have. And at that time, I was in a relationship, and the relationship is now over. But even with that, God sent a person in that relationship I will never forget. And I tell you what, that particular individual bought groceries for me when I was just too cheap to buy even groceries. That person bought groceries for me. That person would take me out to eat. That person would pay for all of the extracurricular activities. And so all of that, just that little bit, helped me. That too was also a testament of God's promise, because I needed to raise over $7,000 to get into this house, and I was determined to get there. If that means I had to make some hardcore sacrifices to my budget, and I did. My credit score eventually, it started to go up as I continued on with the 12-step process. And I was able to get the loan. So here we are, because this is a long testimony. I'm going to fast forward us to December of 2016. So the week before close is the date that the close means to go to a legal meeting with the lawyer, with your realtor, and yourself, and this is the day that you present your down payment, you sign the legal contract to secure the home and the loan. And so before all of that happened, right, the close date was on December 16th. That week, I was led to fast, to consecrate a fast. And so it started from Sunday to close. I knew that going into this house, because there were problems along the way with the time with the time span, with with the time span that it took to build the house, and the different things that the different certifications that the builders had to get to complete the house. And so I knew that I had to fast, right? Because you could get to closing and not even close. So I consecrated a fast that started on Sunday, and I, during that process, the week, that week of closing, the loan officer has you submit all kinds of paperwork, stubs, and banking statements, credit report. They pull your credit report again, and they just go through stuff. They're finalizing everything, making sure that you still are qualified to take on the mortgage. And so 3 days before closing, 3 days, I was denied the loan. And I tell you, I had been driving from where I lived in Alpharetta. I live now in McDonough. From Alpharetta to McDonough, that's an hour drive. That's an hour drive each way. So an hour to get to McDonough, an hour to get back to Alpharetta. So mind you, during the whole course of 12 months, practically every single weekend, I was driving from Alpharetta to McDonough to see the house being built and to see the status of it, to watch it being built, as you all see in these pictures. Only to be 3 days with God's promise and God's messenger to be denied to close on the house. I was in a state of shock. It's because of a debt, because of a small debt, a collection, to be honest, was preventing me from closing on the house. And so they said, hey, because this collection is still outstanding, you're not going to be able to close on the house. Because the collection was in a dispute status on the credit report, and you can't have anything in dispute status before closing on a loan. And I had something in dispute. So that item, I said, I was in a state of shock and just, I just felt defeated. But I did not neglect my faith. And I had to recall the messenger who I had met all the way in January of 2016, who promised me that I would have a house, that I would have a family and a ministry. But the first thing was house. God promised me this house, and I wasn't taking no for an answer. So you bet I got on my knees. I was already fasting. So the devil, who came to test my faith, to really see if I really believed and I really wanted this house, he tried me. And guess what? I still trusted and prayed and fasted unto God and believed everything that he said in his promise. And so that day, after I was told at the end of the day, this was around 6 o'clock or so, that I was denied, I still had to go to the gym. It was during my lunch hour because I worked 2 to 10:30. And so during my lunch hour, I went to the gym, I put on my earphones, and I was just distraught. And I was like, God, I spoke to God at the gym. I was like, God, you've got to do something about this. You've got to intercede on my behalf. You made a promise, and I know that you didn't bring me to this point, raising these thousands of dollars, getting my credit score up to qualification status, and seeing this house built, going from looking at it as a plan to watching it come to fruition. I know that 3 days prior to close, that you intend for me to get this house. So God, make a way. And I promise you, on that treadmill, he said, pay the collection. Mind you, the loan officer didn't give me that idea. So guess what? After, this was probably 30 minutes after getting the denial from the loan officer, I called that loan officer back and I said, hey, what about if I pay it? I had raised the thousands in order to qualify for the loan, and I had more, and I had more. I had more. God gave me more than what I had, than what I needed in time to close on the house. So he said, pay it. And so I contacted the loan officer, and I said that, hey, what about if I paid the collection? Would I still be able to qualify for close? And she said, well, I'd have to ask the loan originator. And I was like, okay. I know that you have to ask him, but I already know the answer because God gave it to me. If I pay that collection, I'm going to be able to close on that house. So she said, okay, I'll check with him and I'll call you back. She called me back. She said, that will work. I paid that collection. And the day before close, I got the clear to close. And this makes me really, really emotional because that was probably one of the most difficult things I've had to go through in my life, and only to be denied, and then to rely upon God and his message, and to hear him speak to me to do something, to pay a collection in order to secure a loan on a house. The loan officer, once again, didn't give me that. God gave me that in my spirit. And I went to them to tell them that this is how this would work. God did that for me because he made a promise to me. So Friday, December 16, 2016, I actually secured the loan and I closed on the house that God gave me, this house. And I want you all to know that God did this for me. He gave me this beautiful home. He fulfilled every word that he said unto me. And I closed on this beautiful house. This was way more than what I imagined. Way more than what I imagined from God. And I am just so grateful unto God for all of his marvelous benefits unto me. I can't begin to tell you how grateful and how joyful, how much joy in his presence that I feel inside this house on a daily basis. When I closed on that loan, I was still fasting. When I came to this house, I decided that, you know what? I'm going to bless God. I'm going to take this consecration. I'm going to take this consecration and this fast, and I'm going to pour out my appreciation unto God. So I went from room to room, and I began to praise God. And I began to bless my own house. I went from room to room, as you see me going now, even to the bathrooms, dining room, garage even, to my office. This office has been prayed for. I knew that ministry would come to this office. I prayed over this office. I also knew that people would come here and be blessed, and that there would be ministry coming outside of this house. Every room was spoken in tongues for. This house is God's house. And this 2 years, this is a testament to God. And I am thankful every single day that I drive up to this house and I see this house, because God did it for me, for little old me, his servant. And I just want to end. I know this was long, but I want to end with this scripture. This was the scripture that God gave me to recall and recite during that whole long process of acquiring that house, especially during the last week. I really relied on Psalm 34. And it reads, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul makes its boast in the Lord, and let the humble hear and be glad. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. I sought the Lord, and he answered me, and delivered me from all of my fears. Look to him and be radiant, so that your faces never be ashamed. This poor man cried, and was heard by the Lord, and was saved from every trouble. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Happy are those who take refuge in him. Oh, fear the Lord, you his holy ones, for those who fear him have no want. The young lions suffer want and hunger, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. Come, O children, listen to me. I will teach you the fear of the Lord. Which of you desires life and covets many days to enjoy good? Keep your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking defeat. Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. The eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are open to their cry. The face of the Lord is against evildoers, to cut them off, remembrance of them from the earth. When the righteous cry for help, the Lord hears and rescues them from all of their troubles. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those crushed in spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord rescues them from them all. He keeps all of their bones, and not one of them will be broken. Evil brings death to the wicked, and those who hate the righteous will be condemned. The Lord redeems the life of his servants, and none of them who take refuge in him will be condemned. Bless God, give thanks unto God, and believe every single promise that he has made to you, for he shall and will fulfill that promise. I love you. Thank you so much for your patience in hearing this testimony. Please share this message with others, and don't give up on God's faith of his promise to you.